Hello everyone and welcome to the live Q&A with me, Professor Michael Scott. Well, it is the 17th of February and it is a very special Q&A today because this is a Lego themed Q&A. You know that Lego is very close to my heart and has been for a long time, and it's a great pleasure to be able to welcome to our Q&A today who is going to be coming live from Australia, where he has got up at an extraordinarily early time in the day, Liam Jensen, who is himself the Lego Classicist. So very excited to be welcoming him on to be able to kind of comment on what we're doing here in the Q&A, to respond to your questions and thoughts, and also to allow Liam to make some exciting announcements of his own, and we'll be coming up more about that in a little bit. So I hope that you guys have been well. I hope that everything has been going well in your world. I hope that you have managed to avoid, if you are here in the UK, any of the storms that are currently battling away, particularly yesterday, and we're expecting a few more tomorrow. I'm going to be trying to get down to the British Science Museum tomorrow evening to do a live event of When Worlds Collide, and we will be trying to talk about how ancient and modern technology come together to kind of make the most of the ancient world, as long as we can all get there in one piece. So Liam has now joined us. Hello Liam, thank you so much indeed for coming along. You are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, even though it is 4 a.m. here in where you are in Sydney, Australia. Happy early start indeed to International Lego Classicists, Classicism Day 2022. Liam, it's a great pleasure and privilege to have you with us. Thank you so much indeed for joining in. Now, please do, Liam, tell us a little bit through the comments about Lego Classicism, about Lego Classicists. Tell us a little bit about International Lego Classicism Day, because we all are absolutely fascinated by this and where the inspiration originally came from. For your kind of great family that you have created. So Alexis is saying, for those in the UK, hope you're ready for the stormy weather. Yes, indeed, we are doing our best to stay well despite the stormy weather. So Liam, do let us know through the comments, kind of, particularly where the original inspiration, I think, for you, we'd love to know, came for Lego Classicists. Now, some of you may well be aware that back a couple of years ago, I was lucky enough to be inducted into the Lego Classicist family. Liam says that's a lot of things to be able to comment and answer. Let's start with this first one then, Liam. First question for you is, where did the inspiration for Lego Classicists originally come from? That's my question to you. Yes, we're turning this Q&A around on you, Liam. And then everyone else as well listening, if you have a question for Liam Jensen, the Lego Classicist, the man who has kind of gone around the world making classicists famous kind of in Lego, then do put your question forward to Liam as well while he is with us bright and early. He has got up at 4 a.m. in the morning, Sydney time in Australia, to be with us online today, which is absolutely amazing. So do please send in your questions to him. But I have my Lego figure here that this is me back in 2019, I think it was, when I was inducted into the Lego Classicist family. And Liam does an amazing job of making a Lego figure, if I take him off the stand, kind of as realistic and as lifelike an image as possible. Now, hopefully you will be able to, if I sort of stand face by face with the Lego Classicist figure, get him in view, you can see he's captured the hair brilliantly, the shirt that she knows, the bag is there. Many of you will be aware of the bag I always used to wear. And then, of course, I've got my notebook in one hand. Here it is, my notebook. And then, of course, Liam, and I think you were teasing slightly here, weren't you? You even made a little Lego printout of one of the first Professor Michael Scott calendars that we give out at Christmas time. There you have for me to be able to hold in my other hand. So this was the great Lego figure. And of course, there are Lego classicists all around the world. Kind of, Liam, it would be lovely if you could let us know how many Lego classicists there are now in the world. Because I don't know the total number, but it is quite a few for all the great and the good that come together in the family. It is absolutely fabulous to hear. So some questions coming in for you, Liam, already. Tracy, how do you make the Lego figures? Lots of custom bits that us mere mortals can't buy is the question. 121, says Liam. 121 Lego classicists in the family. Absolutely brilliant. Now, Liam, I may have missed it in you replying on your responses as to what it was that inspired you to start off the Lego Classicist family. So do please kind of pop that back in the chat, because it didn't come up for me to be able to see. But if it did for any of you, also do kind of resend it round and reframe it. 121 Lego Classicists. We really are becoming a global family network. And then back in 2018, I believe it was, or 2017, Liam started the International Lego Classicisms Day, which is on the 20th of February. So this is why we are celebrating our Lego Day today, because we are just in advance. This is our regular Thursday Q&A in advance of the 20th of February, which will be this Sunday. So this Sunday, in any tweeting that you might be doing, do use the hashtag ILCD2022. And Liam will be there online watching, as people around the world will be as well, as they take part in Lego kind of accident. Liam says it's very complex to explain, as it's half an accident and then it developed over time. Like all the best ideas, Liam, absolutely, like all the best ideas, starting as half an accident and then developing into such a miraculous family over time. I would subscribe half my life to things starting as half an accident, which includes, in fact, actually, how I got into studying the ancient world myself. Because it was quite an accident. I didn't like Latin at school, and I gave it up as soon as I possibly could. And then I had the fortune, just completely randomly, to be sitting down with someone who was a very old friend of my family, who was themselves a school teacher. And we were just talking about things, and they just completely out of the blue said, "Oh, do you know any letters of the ancient Greek alphabet?" I said, "No, I don't." And so we started writing out the first kind of 10 or so letters of the ancient Greek alphabet, and I was hooked. So there we go, half an accident that kind of, so just randomly out of the blue, the chance to be able to kind of look at and see the ancient Greek alphabet suddenly inspired me. And James says, accident or destiny? Oh, let history decide. We could say the same about Liam and the Lego Classicism family. Absolutely. I then wrote into the school that I was starting that late in September and said, you know what, I know I've made a choice to learn German, but actually I don't want to learn German anymore. On the back of my introduction to a couple of letters of the ancient Greek alphabet, I actually want to learn ancient Greek. And that sent me down the path of starting to study ancient Greek, which I did back at the age of 13. And I kept it on because I loved it so much all the way through to A-level. And then, of course, decided to read classics at very last minute application at a university. And of course, it's a love affair that's continued ever since. Tracy says, love how many of us are accidental classicists. Absolutely. So LJ Warwick says, is there a recommendation for which classicist should be placed at which ancient world Lego replica? Well, now, it's funny you should mention that, because I just so happen to have been given, along with my fiancée Cassie, by Cassie's mum, for Christmas last, so 20 years ago, we got given the Lego Colosseum. Right? And we are now in the process of building the Lego Colosseum. Now, this is 9,036 pieces of Lego, and we are nowhere near getting to the finish of it. But there are foundations. We have the underground parts of the arena of the Colosseum built, and we are now just beginning to build up the walls. So we are kind of on box 2 of 4 boxes of Lego to build the 9,036 piece Lego Colosseum. And when it is completed, I am going to be absolutely delighted to share some photos of our Lego figures kind of sitting in the Lego Colosseum. Angela says you need a Lego Delphi. Now, this is an interesting question. We will be putting this out to you guys because William Robson, aged just 11, has been in touch and asked a series of Lego related questions. Liam also has his own Lego related questions, which we're going to come to in a second. But William Robson has asked these questions. Liam says, it's an amazing Lego model. You got it as a gift last year. So you got the Lego Colosseum as well, and you have it built. Brilliant. So we will have the Lego Colosseum. We will be kind of putting the figures in there, doing some photographs. Will you be incorporating the new viewing platform? Ooh, interesting. Yes, interesting decisions about the Colosseum. Well, it was designed and built by Lego back, I think, in 2019, 2020. So I don't know if they've got the new platform in there or whether we need to bring it back. James, thank you. Don't worry, Prof. The Colosseum wasn't built in a day. We should also say happy birthday to James. It is James Scott's birthday, my brother's birthday, so it is his birthday. He's 25, and just a few years. 25 is what we're going for. The Colosseum most definitely wasn't built in a day, and it's going to take us several months. But we will get some photos out there of the Lego figure inside the Lego Classicist. And anyway, so William Robson has asked this. If you were given the job to design a new Ancient World Lego series, okay, there are 4 categories. You can have a historical site, an ancient artifact, a historical figure, and a mythological figure. What would your 4 be? So we're going to put this up on the Facebook page, and it would be absolutely fabulous to see your responses coming in on the Facebook page, or indeed now live, right? You can create your own Ancient World Lego figure. And Liam, we would love to hear what your thoughts are about this as well. Kind of if you could create a historical site, an ancient artifact, a historical figure, and a mythological figure in Lego, who would they be? Now, for me, it would, I think Delphi as the site would definitely be there. The first International Lego Classicist of the year that Liam created as part of his International Lego Classicism Day. The first International Lego Classicist was in fact Michael Turner, who was responsible for the Lego Acropolis that was on display at the Acropolis Museum in Athens. So we are in great company here coming up with our own ancient sites. Indeed, so kind of Delphi, it would be for me. An ancient artifact, ooh, well, I would love to do a Corinthian war helmet, a Corinthian military helmet. I think that would be brilliant in Lego. And if we could get it full size, so I could put it on, that would be even better. Liam tells us the Lego model of the Acropolis is still there at the Acropolis Museum. A great reason to go to the Acropolis Museum if you didn't already have many in the bag. And then for me, Citadel of Troy, says Angela Ryder, that would be your site. Ooh, how are you going to do all those archaeological layers, Angela? That sounds complicated indeed. In terms of a historical real-life figure, for me, it's got to be Alexander the Great, right? How are you going to do those locks of hair, those kind of leonine locks of hair in Lego? Catherine Collier says Hadrian and Hadrian's Wall. Kind of, it would be a very, very, very long piece of Lego, wouldn't it, for the artifact of Hadrian's Wall, particularly long. As I was being reminded when I did a podcast for Against the Law podcast that you can listen to. Now we've put the link up on the Facebook page. Reminded, of course, that Hadrian's Wall didn't just sit there in Britain. It was actually designed originally to be a bit of a wall around the entirety of the Roman Empire in the reign of Hadrian, and thus there are bits of Hadrian's Wall all around the wider Mediterranean world. So there's a lot of wall to do in Lego. Liam says the Lego Pompeii is up there as well. Can we have the ancient site as it would have been back in the day and then take away blocks to reveal it as it is? Nice one, Alexis. I like this style. Or you could have a little kind of red line to show where the original remains still stand and then where recreation has been put on top of it. It's really interesting, I think, that the Lego Colosseum is actually the Lego Colosseum as it survives today, as it's standing today. So kind of with the outer colonnade, the outer wall section only there in the half that still survives today, rather than it being a recreation of the whole as it was. Kind of Medusa is a really popular one. Yeah, lots of people have been suggesting Medusa as their mythological figure. And in fact, it was my mythological figure that I wanted to have made in Lego as well. So for me, it was Medusa, Alexander the Great, the Corinthian war helmet, preferably one I could wear, and then Delphi. Eddie says the artifact, the Apple of Discord. Tracy goes for the Sutton Hoo helmet. Phil wants the 7 Wonders of the World, all in Lego. Well, I think we need to take all these ideas to Lego immediately and say kind of how about it. Now, this is exciting times because Liam has come on our Q&A today, not simply because the kind of, Medusa is already done by the Lego group. We can get Lego Medusa already, says Liam. Kai says, Indy discovers the Ark. Yes, indeed, we need Indiana Jones, and most definitely. Now, Liam has come on the Q&A today very specially because it is soon International Lego Classicisms Day 2022, this Sunday, the 20th of February. And as I've alluded to each year, there is quite a really great and amazing thing that Liam has done, which is that each year, as part of International Lego Classicisms Day, he has anointed one Lego figure, one Lego family figure as International Lego Classicist of the Year. Now, Liam is going to type an announcement and put forward his recommendation to the world for International Lego Classicist of the Year 2022. And while he does that, I am going to say a couple of things about the other International Lego Classicists. And there we have it. Liam's put it out there. You are so kind, Liam, to make the very special announcement and to do it live from Sydney, Australia at 4 a.m. in the morning that the International Lego Classicist of the Year 2022 is yes, it's me. That is extremely kind of you, and I am honoured, deeply honoured, to have received through the post, all the way from Australia, the international, which I can broadcast for the very first time here live on this Q&A, the International Lego Classicist of the Year figure that Liam has sent through. Here we have it. Yes, indeed. This, as you can see, I hope it's reading the right way around, but we've got Lego Classicist of the Year 2022, Professor Michael Scott, on my own Ionic column, absolutely with this fantastic gold figure at the top. Now, so the pictures that we will be circulating of the Lego Colosseum when it's finished will not only have Michael Scott, the Lego Classicist, Michael Scott from 2019, but we'll also have imagery of the Lego Classicist of the Year column as part of it. And here, for the first time ever, I can put the two side by side. Here we have Michael Scott from 2019 and the Lego Classicist of the Year award now together for the first time and always from now on. And I will be keeping them very, very close to my heart, side by side, and we'll be having some fun over the next couple of days, putting photos of these two guys together out on Twitter and on Facebook, of course, we're going to be putting up a blog on my website as well with a few thoughts from me about this great honour. So, it is an absolute honour. Thank you, Liam, indeed. And as Samantha says, that's it. You can retire. There's nothing left to achieve. I completely agree. It is quite absolutely fan-dabby-dorsey to be able to bring these two characters together and to be part and parcel of this great day celebrating Lego in classics. And the joining of those two. And as Lex says, you've reached the top. Indeed, I have, of my own Ionic column. And I very much enjoyed getting to put it together as well and build it. Particularly when you consider the different Lego Classicists of the Year over the past couple of years. Liam, thank you so much. Because the last couple of Lego Classicists, if you look at these names, Michael Turner, responsible for Lego Acropolis, the Acropolis Museum, Dr. Stephanie Ann Rata, who's part of the group that brought together and made real Assassin's Creed Odyssey, who was the Lego Classicist of the Year back in 2019, Professor John Bennett from the British School at Athens, a place, as you will know, very, very clear and close to my heart, who was Lego Classicist of the Year in 2020, and then Dr. Donna Zuckerberg in 2021, absolutely brilliant for the way that she challenges all our conceptions of classics and our preconceptions of what classics, the study of classics and who studies classics is all about, and who carries on, particularly in the United States, a really, really important fight for classics to be for everyone and about everyone and to come from everyone's perspective. So to be part of that family is an incredible privilege, I can only say, Liam, thank you to you for everything you have done in bringing together the Lego Classicists family around the world, all 121 of us. Thank you for creating this moment on the 20th of February of International Lego Classicisms Day for us to be able to celebrate all the great things about Lego and classics. And then thank you in particular for the honour of this award. It is hugely, hugely appreciated, and to be in such company is really, really a deep honour. Now, we have Liam's questions that he sent in as the Lego classicist himself, asking his questions about Lego and classics. And the first one is this. We'll go in reverse order, Liam, if you don't mind, of the questions that you asked. So did Lego help you with your PhD? Now, it did, absolutely. So as I alluded to right at the beginning of the conversation for this Q&A, when I was doing my PhD, which was all about the archaeological site of Delphi, I wanted something that I could take in with me to seminars and classes that would give a very quick 3D kind of view of what this site is, because so often it was studied through a 2D flat map in a book. And one of the crucial things to comprehend and understand about the site of Delphi is that it's on a very steep hill. And as a result, all the buildings are crashed together on small terraces, man-made terraces that have been sort of built into the side of the hill. And that completely affects the way that the buildings interrelate with one another and how you viewed the buildings, because you were always, as you went up through the sanctuary, you're always looking up at stuff. And so very, all right down on the top of it as you look downwards. And it completely changed the way in which you viewed and interacted with the buildings of the sanctuary. Now, I could do this to a certain extent through photos that I could put up on the projector and in PowerPoint slides, but I wanted something that was actually physically there in the room. And in 2005, 6, 7, when I was doing my PhD, what I realized was the easiest way to achieve this was through Lego. So I ordered kind of a whole bunch of big Lego, kids Lego, to be able to create the hillside. And then on top of that, layered normal size Lego to be able to build all the individual structures and buildings of Delphi. So in some ways I built a Delphi, and it stayed with me throughout the entirety of my PhD. I took it to loads of research seminars. And then on the night that I handed in my PhD, as we were celebrating, I decided that was the night to ceremoniously dismantle the Lego model of Delphi. And I still have all those Lego pieces today. One of the joys is that my little daughter, now 5 and 6, well, 5 3/4, very, very important, as she will remind me very often, now gets to play with those Lego pieces as well. But I'll tell you one quick story about when I ordered all the Lego. So obviously the Lego itself, the small normal size Lego, I bought in a big box of 1,000 pieces from kind of, I think it was a W.H. Smith's shop or whatever. But I had to order the big kiddie Lego to be delivered to me. And so this chap turned up from this kids store expecting to deliver a whole bunch of kiddies Lego to obviously a family with a young child. And instead, who opened the door but a mid-20s single guy living on his own, saying, yep, it's Lego for me, kids Lego for me. And I got a very, very strange look indeed from kind of the from the person delivering the kiddie Lego, as if I might be up to something dodgy rather than just wanting to build an ancient site. But yes, so I had my Lego Delphi with me throughout my PhD. And Liam asked, would your daughter like a Lego you to play with her as her own? Whoa! Oh, Liam, now that is an offer. Well, I don't want to speak on her behalf, but I think it would be absolutely brilliant to have a Lego classicist. So I'm trying to get her to understand what being a professor is as a job. She currently thinks it's basically talking a lot, as much as I've got her to understand. And I'm trying to start to get her to understand what I study, which are the ancient Greeks and Romans. So we're reading all the ancient myths, all the children's versions of the ancient Greek myths. And once, of course, we've built the Lego Colosseum here, we will be kind of working away on getting her playing with Lego in the world. But a little Lego me, I think, would be hilarious. Although, given what she does with current Lego figures of different varieties, so Frozen, Elsa, Anna, Sven, Olaf, all of the rest, which get dismembered quite quickly, and different heads get put on different bodies, and she plays around with them. I suspect I might end up being kind of body taken apart and being given Elsa's head and maybe Olaf's sort of body, etc., pretty quickly. But it would be a huge privilege and honour. Thank you, Liam. So brilliant first question with helping with the PhD. Absolutely did. And kind of when Liam saying, my point is, in terms of my body being ripped apart and being given a kind of a moose's legs and a sort of girl's head, I think it's absolutely exactly what you're supposed to do with Lego, isn't it, from the start? Now, your second question is, in ancient Greek and Roman architecture, did they ever use interlocking bricks similar to the way that Lego bricks work? And this is a really interesting question. Yes, absolutely. Not quite in the way that Lego bricks work, with the block itself having an aperture which kind of interlinks with the next block. Although sometimes you definitely see that in the way that they manipulated and got blocks of stone into place in buildings. So what they would do is they'd carve the block, but then they would leave on the sides in particular little protruding squares from the marble, which they would then wrap the ropes around to be able to hoist the block up and put it into place. And then when it was in place and all nicely aligned, they would then shave off those little extra bits protruding from the sides to create that beautiful flat surface of the block. So they did have kind of interlocking bits sticking out of them when they were being put into place. And then once they were in place, those bits of the stonework would be taken off. But then what they would do, once the blocks were in place, is they would chisel away between two blocks on the same course, a small line, and then they would fill that with metal. A metal kind of clamp, a T-clamp it would often be, so with a T on either end of the central strip running between two blocks, that would be there simply to make sure that those two blocks stayed really closely and snugly together going forward. So a T-shaped block, a T-shaped clamp would be made in metal, it would be in bronze or it would be iron, but then it would be given a coating of lead over the top to make sure that it didn't rust away. One of the great problems of early reconstruction of ancient sites that happened from the middle of the 19th century onwards, and this happened including with the Parthenon and the Acropolis, is that when they were putting back bits of stone together, they used lots of clamps in order to do it. And they thought they were kind of copying the ancient technique, but originally they did it so with just iron clamps. And of course, over time, the iron expanded as it rusted, and it ended up actually causing more damage because it broke apart some of the ancient blocks. So they've now had to take out all of those early 19th century and early 20th century iron clamps and replace them with things like titanium, which they don't rust today. But the ancients did it with these T-clamps between two blocks, and that's to keep stones on the same course, nicely nestled against one another. But then they also would do it between courses to ensure that stones stayed together within a wall, or particularly within a column drum. So there would be a vertical circular piece of metal that ran up between two drums of a column, for instance. So we've got the iron clamp, then those circular pieces, those dowels, the iron covered in lead dowels that would be used to keep vertical courses in place. And then occasionally there is a thing called an iron brace, which is kind of something that was added to actually hold two stones in place initially while they were being fitted together, perhaps with other stones then needing to be laid along the other sides. Now, normally these would be removed, but actually sometimes they weren't at all and they were just left. But what's really interesting is that if we just move into kind of using a bit of metal a bit more, there would be certain buildings, including at Delphi, so the Theban treasury at Delphi, for instance, because it sits on such a steep landscape and they were so worried about the foundations not getting loose and sliding down the hillside, because Delphi also has to contend with regular rock falls and also with water streaming down the site in the winter. They actually put iron bars around the entirety of the foundations and interlocked the iron bars on each side as part of a square in order to keep the foundations all closely knit together. Liam says they do that in some Lego models too, with a beam in the center. There you go. Thank you. And Liam, your final question, because already we're running out of time, we're getting to the end of our session, is it true that in Latin, Lego means assemble or put together? Now, I kind of looked into what was the origins of Lego and the name Lego at all before this, and I was fascinated to look at it, that there seems to be quite a few different stories out there as to why Lego is called Lego. Dates back to 1934, when the Dutch carpenter Christiansen started off the Lego company, was looking for a name for these plastic toys that they were now making. He'd come out of originally being a carpenter, so making wood and doing refurbishments for houses and furniture and all of this kind of stuff. That business had faltered, and so he'd started moving into wooden toy making. And then with the evolution of kind of injection plastic molding, they decided to make some toys in plastic, and he eventually gave up entirely on carpentry and working in wood to focus entirely on his toys being made in plastic. But he supposedly, so the story goes, asked his staff to come up with ideas and names for what these plastic toys should be called. And two finalists in this were Legio and Lego. Now, Legio actually, again, had a Roman connotation because the idea was that it was legions of toys. Legio, legions of toys. Lego, you might think else has a Roman connotation, and it does, but some people claim that it isn't actually a Roman connotation at all, but a Dutch one. So that in fact in Dutch, sorry, what am I saying in Dutch? In Danish, I should say, sorry, there is the word leggot, kind of which means to play well. And that's where you get Lego from. So it could be coming from that. But you're absolutely right. The Lego itself is a Latin word. Lego, legere, legi, lectum, to give it its full kind of background as a verb in all of its parts. So many of you will enjoy a bit of declining. Kind of it means to gather or collect. So to gather or collect, to assemble together. And in fact, in some kind of ways can also be used to talk about picking one's way through things as well. You can use it in a sort of figurative sense like that. So that is different from Lego legare, which is to set in law, right? To ordain by law and to commission. So there's Lego legare and there's Lego legere, legi lectum, which is our gather or collect together. So I like to think that there is definitely a Roman connotation to Lego, whether it be, but who knows? Imagine that we could have been talking about Legio all these years, and Lego kind of could come from a number of different sources. So absolutely brilliant. Liam, thank you so much for joining us on the Q&A today. You have deserved a massive award yourself in your own right for getting up at 4 a.m. in Sydney in Australia and being with us today. Thank you for that. Thank you for this fantastic Lego Classicist family. Thank you for International Lego Classicism's Day. And most importantly, of course, thank you for the great honour of the award of being Lego Classicist of the year 2022. I will endeavour to not let you down. So keep an eye out on Twitter and Facebook and kind of on the website michaelscottweb.com over the next days, because lots of photos will be emerging of the Lego Classicist figures having a ball in partially built Lego Colosseums, in amongst replica ancient Greek amphory vases, playing in lots of different environments, some cheeky fun photos coming as well. So indeed, kind of keep an eye out for all of those coming out over the different channels over the next couple of days. On the 20th of February, remember, hashtag ILCD2022 is what you need to use when you are tweeting about anything and everything to do with Lego. And that's our question for you. Remember to answer that on the Facebook page as well. What would you do? What would you have made in Lego as your historical site, your ancient artifact, your historical figure, and your mythological figure? Let us know and we'll compile the list and send it through to Lego and see where we can get. Will's answers, Will Robson age 11, who asked the question, he would want the Lighthouse of Alexandria, complete with a working light. He would want Tutankhamun's sarcophagus with all the coffins in one inside the other and a little boy's skeleton at the end. He would want Diogenes as his historical figure, preferably in a barrel. And he would want too Medusa, but with green eyes that light up. Absolutely fantastic answers, William. Kind of let's have your suggestions as well. We haven't had time today to go into all the great things that are happening around the world, but you can catch them on the Facebook page where we'll be putting forward all of the suggestions. I hope to see some of you at the British Science Museum tomorrow evening, if we can brave the storms that are coming. And next time we will be meeting is the 10th of March. So Thursday, the 10th of March at 5 p.m. Do join us for the next live Q&A. Keep your questions coming in to the Facebook page or via email, michaelscottacademic@gmail.com. It is a pleasure and a privilege to answer them with you. Liam, thank you again for joining us. Thank you everyone for joining us, and take care of yourselves, and we'll see you all soon. From Lego Classicist of the Year 2022, signing out. Take care.